I am your father.
Soto, welcome to Rock Mirror. This is a very special moment for all of us.
Always an honor to be here, of course, in Budapest. It's an honor to always sit and talk with you as a friend and as a professional in the business, so let's roll.
Well, really glad to have you here. This is your third time in Hungary, at least.
Number 4.
Or 4th.
Yeah.
And Jeff Scott Soto, probably the most sought-after vocalist in the world of melodic rock, and a real icon, a cult hero among melodic rock fans.
Yet, you're making me blush.
Yet the guy insists on playing funk. What the fuck is going on?
You didn't hear any tonight. No, tonight it was purely rock. I mean, the 21st century is a bit of a funky vibe to it, but yeah, it was all rock tonight.
But ever since we follow your endeavors in the world of music, it seems quite obvious that there's two sides to Jeff Scott Soto. One side is the traditional melodic rock that we heard on the Talisman records, which are favorites for a lot of people in the fandom of AOR, so to speak. But there's another side, which is, well, we don't necessarily have to call it funk, but it's a lot more of a modernish kind of rock. And you seem to enjoy that more, or you seem to be wanting to wander into different directions in that world.
Well, I have to correct you. There's more than 2 sides. It's more like 5. And I grew up listening to only R&B music. I grew up with the Jackson 5. I grew up with things like Tom Jones, AM radio, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Bee Gees. That was my stuff growing up it wasn't until I heard groups that were infusing R&B and kind of soul music into rock that actually brought me towards rock, like Soto. Steve Perry was one that brought that influence, that R&B soul singer influence into injected rock. And that's when I finally opened it up. Before that, I couldn't get into bands like Kiss and Cheap Trick and Ted Nugent, all that stuff. I love it now. Those are some of my favorite bands now. But as a kid, even as a young teenager, it was noise to me. It was strange because I grew to love that stuff. I grew to even love the heavier stuff from Judas Priest to Iron Maiden and those bands. And then I found an overall picture that, like an umbrella that worked for me of music. But because I started my career in heavy metal, clearly I got pigeonholed as a heavy metal singer. And I had this love and this deep yearning to do stuff that I was influenced growing up. And that's one of the reasons I ventured off. I used my solo career as a platform to go into things like the funkier side of things, the kind of Seal, Lenny Kravitz, Prince kind of vibe that I injected into the last couple of albums.
Okay, this clears and rounds up the picture quite
well.
And
it's great that I was accepted as that kind of singer, but I kind of wanted to spread my wings a bit and show that I was a little more than that. And Queen was the perfect example of a band that did that. They personified the fact that you don't have to be just one style. If you can do it and you can do it well, then go for it.
Yeah,
when you go from opera to disco to hard rock to heavy metal to ballads to weird novelty French songs from the 20s, that's a band that has everything to offer. And that to me was always the vision of what I wanted to be as an artist.
Queen is a really good example. Oingo Boingo would be another one, I think. But not many bands have managed to pull that off, to wander off into so many directions.
Yeah.
yet you're trying. You're doing it in different formats,
Sure.
different bands, under different monikers. That might make it a little easier, or might make it a little harder. You never know.
A little bit of both, yeah.
Is there anything that you would say, for some particular reason, you enjoy doing the most? Any of the bands that you're involved in today that for some reason stand out, not necessarily music-wise, but in any aspect of personal?
Well, that's funny, especially when I'm doing interviews that have to do with hard rock and heavy metal. Nobody wants to hear me mention the bands that I really listen to, because if I mention them, people go, "What? How is this guy doing heavy music and heavy rock when he's listening to things like Bruno Mars and Maroon 5 and some of the pop kind of stuff that's out there?" I enjoy that stuff because it's laced with all the influences that I grew up with. But also, I'm listening to things like Shine Down and Alter Bridge and Adrenaline Mob, all the heavier side of things, and that's influencing me musically at this point in time, and that's where I'm venturing back into. I'm going more the power metal direction, but I still love listening to all this other stuff. There shouldn't be any boundaries in music. If you like it and you get something from it, you don't have to shut it down or turn it away just because your friends or your fans think it's uncool.
Great diplomatic answer to the question that was kind of trying to pull out of you a name. For example, you would say, "Okay, I enjoy playing with Wet the most," but it's totally understandable that you would never say anything like that, because with all the many things that you do, you probably shouldn't even have such a favorite in there, because that wouldn't be fair to the others.
And I get the question all the time, if I could choose the perfect band, like if I could take any members from any walks of life to be in one band with, who would you choose? And I used to come up with all these quirky answers, and this guy on guitar, this guy on drums, and my answer now is the guys I'm with. Because if I wanted to do it with anybody else, I would do that with somebody else. I've done enough of these things with different people that I admire and respect, but I want a band of people that want to do it the way I want to do it and the way they want to do it. And we want to do it together. It's as simple as that.
So we can say that you're pretty happy with where you are. You're enjoying
ecstatic.
Your life, your professional life, your personal life.
I have the greatest band members. They can play and do anything I throw at them, and then they throw stuff at me that inspires me and makes me do something I wouldn't normally come up with. So to me, that's the perfect situation.
And apparently, you've told this to me outside of the camera, that there's actually some new stuff that might possibly be happening with you in your solo ventures. It's not early to talk about, of course.
It's definitely happening, and it's not a solo venture. I've taken the monikers that artists like Dio, Van Halen, Winger, Daughtry, they've taken their last names and they use them as a band name. And I think it's best to go this route as opposed to selling it as a solo artist. I'm still in control of everything the way I want it to be, but these guys are doing it with me. They're co-writing, they're helping me create it, and they're a part of it as a band. So the new band will be called Soto, and the direction will be a more power metal direction, and it's going to be completely different from everything that I've done as a solo artist, yet it will have the elements of everything that you've heard throughout my career.
But anyways, so this direction that you're going, it seems to be picking up right now. You're in talks with some major label people and stuff. Would you consider yourself a late boomer?
Oof.
I mean, yeah.
At this age?
Of course, you sang with Malmsteen when you were really young. That's not your typical late boomer, but maybe that something actually big might happen to you at a later stage in your career.
Never discount that. I mean, I would have quit a long time ago if I thought it's never going to happen. I've been doing this 30 years, and to do it 30 years, you have to start pretty young to actually still be young enough to keep doing it. Knock on wood, I'm able to kind of hide the age and hide the fact that I'm on that veteran shelf life now, but I don't feel like I've been doing it 30 years. To me, it feels like I've been doing it just like 10 years. When I think back to 30 years ago, it's another lifetime ago. I've lived through and seen so many changes to the music industry, to the music genres, through life in general that's changed from then till now. And as far as I'm concerned, those were all kind of education and giving me what I need to exactly do what I want to do right now.
Well, you certainly don't look old. I mean, you still got the color of your hair, unlike mine.
Yeah, I cheat a little bit. You could use a little bit of what
I
I
used
use.
to cheat a little bit too, but then I realized that it's not much point anymore in cheating because after a while you can cheat as much as you want, but it doesn't work.
Well, you know what? It really depends on where you are in your life, and I just feel like I don't feel like I should be gray. I don't feel like I should be acting and looking my age. So the one thing I'm not doing, and I put it on camera, I'm not doing any surgery or Botox. This is 100% me. The only thing I'm doing is I color it a little bit here and there when I need to, and then the rest is all adrenaline and drive and ambition. Everything that I had 30 years ago, I still have now.
Yeah, you certainly don't, on stage, your presence is not of definitely not of a has-been, not of a guy who is trying to live on, the glory of the past. You still, it's really obvious that you're giving it 100%, and you're putting on some really great shows.
Thank you.
Do you spend a lot of your time on the road? Are you touring a lot? Are you active, going from one place to the other?
Yeah, it's more. I've spent a lot of years doing appearances more so than touring. I mean, my tours, they might last 6, maximum 8 weeks. And then I'm doing other ventures with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I do appearances with other bands, with other kind of corporate gigs, and it's show business. I do shows as my business to stay alive, to sustain myself, to raise my family, and all the things that everybody else works for a living. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not that I want to work that much. Most of the time I have to, but I love it because this is something I've been striving for all my life. And to get the opportunity that I get asked to be able to pick and choose the things that I get to do, to me, it's a blessing in disguise. I'll never take it for granted. I'll never look at it as a burden in my life. Yeah, my family might feel like I'm gone too long or I'm away from them or whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, this is something that I worked for, and I'm not about to put it aside just because I think I need to spend an extra couple weeks at home. This is I need this to survive. I need this to live and breathe.
But everybody's gotta live with their lives. So who decided what's wrong, what's right?